United looking to close the gap on second place Celtic to just 1 point. Motherwell having been on the wrong end of a 6-5 scoreline midweek. Match commentator Archie McPherson.
A Tannadice crowd who don't mind seeing the Motherwell shirts treading the turf here, for the visitors have only won twice here in the last 23 years. There might be renewed respect for any side which has just come from scoring 5 goals, whatever the outcome of that last game was. United play exactly the same side that took full points up the road last Sunday, with an interesting partnership beginning to develop up front between Billy Dodds and Stephen Thompson, the two scorers from Dens Park. The defence is solid enough around Canadian Jason DeVos. And in midfield, Israeli international Jan Telesnikov, who's settling in nicely to Scottish football, and especially in a role just behind the front two. By all accounts, believe it or not, Motherwell had more chances to win the game than Aberdeen on Wednesday, but changes have had to be made. Lee McCulloch comes back after a knee injury, and would it really surprise anybody now that Will have gone into the market and signed a central defender, 30-year-old Ben Kemble from PSV, thus strengthening the Dutch connection with Michael Duisberg also on the side. Referee today, at the start of the game, looking very confident and relaxed, Mike McCurry. If Motherwell are in as charitable a mood as they obviously were against Aberdeen at Fir Park on Wednesday, I think they could be in for a right hammering here. Mark you, high scores are not unknown at Tannadice. That exact scoreline, 6-5, was actually recorded in a very famous cup tie between Dundee United and Hearts way back in the 60s, and that's too far in advance. And much as we hope for high-scoring games, I doubt very much if we can get that 2 games in a row. Paul Sturrock on a beautiful afternoon for football, but still rather agitated by the home performance of last time. He wants something more from his men. Well, that's beautifully through there. Billy Dodds, that's the partnership I was talking about. They're linking up very well. Dodds ran out of support. He's still there. Ball still hasn't gone over. The boss up in support. There's Dodds. He'll go for it himself. That's a deflection. Yes, I think he was perfectly entitled to lash out at Gill because there was so much cover just inside the penalty area. Here he is, very narrow angle, but all the other players were covered. Well, Billy is learning the ropes as a manager, but few managers see the side scoring 5 goals and losing. Led by Partridge, and again, that's a good ball in. Well, you know, had that gone all the way, I think it would have been to Dundee United's advantage. Had that gone straight through to Hannah, I think that would have ended up in the net. There he was, coming in there in a very much better position. Well, I have to say, after 20 minutes, the game is very evenly balanced. Probably slightly more possession play by Dundee United, but nothing much in it. Duisberg. Motherwell have looked just as promising. There it's played to the side, and oh no, good defending again, and just over. Well, 2 of them had opportunities. They Valakari initially, but McCulloch going for it as well, and look at the way it drifted over. Better concerted play by Motherwell now. Yes, but they're allowing United to get back. That's a decent ball. Can it be controlled? It can't. The first touch let him down again. Twaddle trying to go right through the middle, and you could see he had to bring it down clinically and then swing away from the defender, but the ball went too far away from him. Seemed like a push. The referee allows him to go forward though. Thompson to Billy Dodds. Thompson on the run again. Can he cut it back quickly? Yes, he gets a corner out of that, but you know, in the kind of break that they had there, just like Motherwell at the other end, they seem to be labouring the opportunities that arise. Ball swinging away out again. Teal Deals with it competently. There's McCullough going round the outside. Oh, that's a good header, brilliantly saved by Andy Gorham. How often have we seen this man performing miracles in the goal line? One of the great line stoppers in the business, and proving it again there from that header. Great stuff from Andy Gorham. And that will give him no problem at all. Well, how often has he performed like that for a team that's been struggling a little? Now that would have turned the tide of the game, and he brings another one out of the bag. That's his reaction to it all. Not surprised. Campbell. Twaddle. A little bit of advance, that's better play by Twaddle. Bit ambitious with a shot, but we should be thankful for small mercies. We haven't had a shot at goal in the last 15 minutes. And he goes for it. Good driving run from the left. Nice little turn by Valakari. Got to take advantage of it though. There's Spencer. But the United getting back very quickly again. Nevin looks for a little return pass. That's what he was asking for. Spencer opted for the shot. Now watch Nevin. He parts with it and he darts inside for the return, and he wasn't all that happy. At least there's forward momentum to that pass. A lot's been across the field. That's not a bad ball inside. And it goes to Spencer, not taken away by McCullough. Looking for the shot, not enough power in it. And that's the second occasion in the game when Motherwell had several options invading the penalty box and got in a bit of a muddle. It could have gone right on to Spencer there. McCullough taking over, and that was too difficult an angle. McMillan. Twaddle again, just keeping it in. Hugging that line very close. Spencer done it! Well, out of the blue against a towering defence, which has really been overpowering on so far. Twaddle, who's been making all the running for Motherwell with these strong surges, taking it over there. How would you have bet on John Spencer? Well, that wasn't about height. It was about timing and being in the right position at exactly the right time. Thank you very much indeed. And hesitation there, you have to say, looking at it again, from the goalkeeper, right on the stroke of half-time. Certainly, towards the end of this half, we're getting the action that has pleased Billy Davis there, no end. God, just getting away with it. Pollock again, that's a good run to the outside. The cut back is on and it's just over. Thompson came in exactly the right place to be. A lot of loft in the ball there, and again he didn't get it cleanly as the half-time whistle goes. Well, you know, to summarize that half, there was nothing very much in it apart from that wonderful save by Andy Gorham from DeVos. I mean, it looked in the net, and how often, as I said at the time, have we seen a ball looking as if inevitably it would end up in the net, and that man with instinctive prowess getting across and down to it, showing how agile he is. And then, of course, towards the end, that goal, delightful goal. You wouldn't have bet on any ball in the air getting into John Spencer, but it found its way there. Hesitation, he capitalised on it, and then right at the very end, coming back, United sparked into activity with that ball played across to Thompson just underneath it. 1-0 at half-time. While we start the second half with a hope that that last entertaining minute of the first half will spark real activity in the second half, because the first half, as I said at the end there, was, or much of it was well behind us. Now there's a touch. Good pace by Thompson, but asking a lot of him. He did well to keep it in. That's a beautiful ball there. Gorham got the touch. And that's much more direct and more productive, I think, from United. Pasquale. There's a neat flick. Dodds against the Dutchman. Still in there. Couldn't get away, Thompson. This is a much more enterprising looking Dundee United side in this half. Tempting ball, there's the touch, and Andy Gorham didn't need to do anything other than watch it. A little bit of gymnastics on the bar. But they're floating them in like this from both that side and the other side. Here's Dodds. Well intercepted. Now Billy Dodds. Telesnikov set it up. Oh, it's a good save again, but a difficult chance for Thompson. Well, Thompson, when Dodds got the freedom there, when it was put back to him, he had to turn and hit. Little swivel, and he didn't get the full sweep of leg into that shot. Anybody picking it up? They do. Billy Dodds finds himself in the right wing. That must be a goal. Just away. He couldn't get hold of it. Telesnikov goes in. Once again, Thompson round the far side, and it looked as if he would pick that up cleanly. As United put the pressure on now. Just scooped away now, the breakaway. John Spencer is going to send it wide. That could be picked up now. De Vos is there. Back very quickly. Good piece of play by United. And an excellent counter-attack by Motherwell. Townsley. Goodman. Good run forward by Townsley. He's going to let rip. Oh, he should have. I think very unselfishly he tried to touch it inside to McCulloch. And instead, he ought to have gone for goal himself. Look at the two defenders there, which was going to make it almost impossible to square that. And on comes the man making his debut for Motherwell. It's Paul Harvey, experienced midfield player, of course, come from Queen of the South, replacing Pat Nevin. And we're halfway through this second half. Motherwell still in the lead.
Number 21, Paul Harvey.
Long and high, it's all about a raise. De Vos seemed to take his eye off the ball. Oh, that was a hand. Yes, it was a hand. I don't think there was any question at all about that. Now, sometimes players will handle the ball and afterwards they can't quite understand, well, oh dear, I think he wasn't really looking at the ball that closely when he raised his left arm. If you see it again, he was inclined away from the ball, but it was a touch, a distinct touch, and so a penalty kick couldn't have come at a better time for Motherwell than it was one for Dundee United, when United were looking as if they were getting strongly back into the game. So, Sean Teal. Oh, it's a great save. Oh, I think the referee is asking for the kick to be retaken. Now, I was certainly watching the kick and the save. Somebody may have invaded the box. Oh, yes. Partridge came well into the box before the ball was actually struck. And if you slow that down again even, you'll see precisely what I think the referee had in mind. The ball has to be struck, the box clear, and it wasn't. Second chance. This time it counts. Well, I'm sure, first of all, there's a little bit of dubiety in the Dundee United fraternity about the original decision, and then, of course, heaped on top of that is the retaken penalty. Well, Billy Davis has been full of these like a tic-tac man at the race course at the moment. Harvey kept that well. Goodman. Balakari. Goodman's played intelligently since coming on. Moves the ball about. Here's Harvey again. Trying to find McCullough. Townsley a little bit slow coming across here. He might have picked that up, in fact. I'll say, I think Motherwell, and especially Billy Davis and his board, must be delighted with the way that the two newcomers have come in and settled in the game, especially the defender Ben Kemble, who's hardly put a foot wrong. Goodman coming in, better tackle there though. Townsley. Balakari took that one late. There's Townsley, McCullough. Now Townsley. Chanji's man beautifully tries to chip the goalkeeper. Nice little piece of skill there by Townsley, although I think the United supporters were angry before it for handling, but there's that little effort there. Not a bad effort. I must say I was impressed by Townsley the last time we saw him playing against St Johnstone. I make it, we're about almost 4 minutes into stoppage time. Townsley. And there goes the final whistle. But as we're saying, deserved victory for Motherwell. It was very tight. There was initially that great save by Antti Gorham. You look back on that and say it could conceivably have been the turning point. And then the breakthrough by, of all people, in the air against a towering defence. John Spencer, well, he went there to get that ball played in by Twaddle. And then in the second half, the controversy. The touch of the arm, I thought he was inclined away from the ball. It's a softish one, but it was a distinct touch. The penalty taken, the invasion of the box, though, by Partridge. I think that was distinct enough, and a decision by Mr. McCurry to take it again. Didn't really go down well at Tannadice, but it went down well with Sean Teal to make it eventually the final score. Dundee United 0, Motherwell 2.
I was very pleased with the way the boys played, and obviously after Wednesday people were looking to see how we'd react to it, but I didn't have any sort of worries about that with the boys in this team. There's a lot of spirit there. Well, they showed the spirit Wednesday night with 4-1 down and still coming back every time, and there was a great spirit out there in that field today.
A word for Ben Kemble and Paul Harvey, two new signings by yourself, and they had great credit in their performance today.
Yeah, excellent. Obviously Benito Kemble coming in at the centre back area had a wonderful debut, and also Paul Harvey, who I thought fitted in tremendously well too. So I'm delighted with these two players. I'm sure they'll go on and show everyone that they're very capable, and they'll be a tremendous addition to the squad.
Billy Davis there, David Hanna and Andy Walker with me here in the studio. David, you were playing in that match, obviously disappointed, but was United's performance that bad?
We didn't pass the ball particularly well yesterday. I thought Motherwell deserved the victory overall, but I think the recent results we've had is a very disappointing game, but I'm sure we'll bounce back from that. Especially coming off the back of the Dundee derby win last week. We were expecting more from you, I think. Yeah, that's right. The boys have probably played their best game of the season so far against Dundee, and as I said, it's very disappointing obviously getting into the Motherwell game and played the way we did, so hopefully we're looking forward to the game against St Johnstone midweek, and hopefully we can rectify that. Andy, great performance from Motherwell yesterday, especially after the disappointment of Wednesday night. 5 goals at home and still losing the match.
Yeah, a great way to bounce back, and I saw Motherwell play last week against Hibs, and they were very impressive, very good going forward, create a lot of chances, and on the evidence of what we've just seen there, they're more than capable of going to Tannadice and creating chances as well. 2 good signings, Kemble and Harvey? Yeah, Paul Harvey I know from my time at Wraith Rovers, and a very skillful player, and I'm sure he'll do well in the Premier League. He's got a good ability. David, at 1-0 down, I suppose you thought you still had a chance of getting something from the match, but this penalty incident, what did you make of it at the time? At the time I thought it was very harsh. I spoke to Jason after the game, and he felt as if the boy McCullough just gave him a wee nudge there, and it should have been a free kick for us, as it just shows here. As I said, they've got the penalty kick from it, and we've been really hard done by, but as I said, Alan Coombs made a great save, but I think with the rules of the game,
you just see David Partridge just coming into the box there, and the referee's correcting what he's did, and it's a retake penalty and he scored from it. So a wee bit disappointing.
He stuck to the letter of the law, Andy, but I wonder, I mean, there was several players encroaching there, really.
Yeah, there was, and I think if you look at any penalty that's taken these days, I think you'll see most players encroaching, and it's the first time the referee's taking someone up on it, and by the letter of the law he's correct, but it'd be interesting to see the next penalty that's televised, and if it's missed, how would that be reacted to?
Exactly. David, United did have chances to score in this game. I think we can see 3 or 4 of them here, and this first one, I think you were poised to get the ball when the cross comes in. Yeah,
well, it's a great ball from Scott McCulloch, and I'm just coming in behind Stephen Thompson there.
You've even jumped.
Yeah, well, I was a bit unlucky, but the big man's actually got up really well, and maybe if I'd have shouted a little bit earlier, I'd have been on the end of it. But we created a few chances. Scott McCulloch again sends a great ball in, and Jason DeVos, great header, and it's a great save from Andy Gorham.
And he's lost 6 goals the other night, Andy, and he's really come back yesterday, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, I saw some of the goals that Aberdeen scored, and they were real quality, but no one can accuse Andy Gorham of not making a few good saves. He's just inspirational, and he really does add so much to Motherwell these days.
You would have expected to have taken at least one of these chances, Davey?
Yeah, I think we got into wide areas early on in the game, and I would imagine the strikers will be a bit disappointed not hitting the target from that range, but as I said, you need to take chances earlier on in the game, and we didn't do that, and we paid the price for it.
And last weekend on Football First, I think you drew Motherwell at home in the League Cup quarter-final, so you have to reverse that result now.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get a wee bit of revenge, and we're looking forward to that one as well.